The sound of choppers slicing through a quiet television night wasn't just a scene. It was the start of something that would change American pop culture forever. MAS*H didn't look like a revolution. It wore fatigues, cracked jokes, and ran on a rhythm of laughter and sudden, striking silence. But beneath the humor and the army green, something deep was unfolding. A sitcom dared to laugh in the face of war, while showing its rawest truths. How did a series born from satire become one of the most emotional and enduring portraits of humanity ever seen on screen? And how did the people behind those unforgettable characters carry the weight of it all when the cameras weren't rolling? It began in 1972, just as the Vietnam War was winding down, and America was exhausted from headlines filled with conflict. MASH entered living rooms like an unexpected guest, cheeky, smart, and oddly comforting, but it stayed because it understood people. Adapted from a 1968 novel written by a real Korean war surgeon under the name Richard Hooker, and first brought to life through Robert Altman's biting 1970 film, MASH the series would evolve far beyond its comedic roots. On the surface, it followed doctors and nurses stationed at a mobile army hospital during the Korean War. But very quickly, it transformed into something else entirely. Created for CBS by Larry Gelbart and Gene Reynolds, the series broke every rule in the sitcom playbook. Real war footage replaced canned laughs. Helicopter blades set the tone instead of applause. And through it all, Alan Alda's Hawkeye Pierce became more than just a witty surgeon. He became the emotional anchor of a show that never stopped growing. But behind the camera, this growth came at a cost. The decision to center the show around Hawkeye, charismatic, brilliant, and morally grounded, shaped the entire cast dynamic. For some, it created friction. For others, it pushed them to walk away, leaving behind iconic roles and millions of viewers stunned. McLean Stevenson, who played the warm but sometimes bumbling Colonel Henry Blake, was one of the first to feel the shift. Once a central figure and Golden Globe winner, McLean grew uncomfortable as his character began to fade in Hawkeye's shadow. He dreamed of leading his own show, of being more than the lovable second banana. So after season 3, he left. And then came the silence. In an unheard-of move for a sitcom, the producers killed off Henry Blake, announcing his death with a flat, gut-punching line. His plane had been shot down. No music. No jokes. Just the brutal reality of war echoing across the screen. That moment didn't just change the show, it changed television forever. And while McLean went on to headline new series like Hello, Larry, none of them lasted. Years later, he admitted that leaving MAS*H had been a mistake. The magic, he said, could never be recreated. Wayne Rogers, the original Trapper John, followed close behind, but in a far more quiet way. From the beginning, Wayne had expected to share the spotlight with Alda, portraying two doctors trading wisecracks and compassion in equal measure. But as Hawkeye's role expanded, Trapper's influence shrank. There were no big stories for his character, no chances to grow. And so, without much noise, Wayne simply didn't return after season 3. There wasn't even a contract binding him. Producers were blindsided, threatening legal action that didn't hold up. In the show, Trapper John's departure was explained in a few quick lines while Hawkeye was away on leave. Just like that, he was gone. Though fans were shocked, the show pressed on with Mike Farrell as BJ Honeycutt, a softer, more introspective presence who brought new emotional depth to the series. As for Wayne, he never looked back. He pivoted to Wall Street, built a successful investment career, and appeared in financial news shows with a calm intellect that surprised those who remembered him in Scrubs. Until his passing in 2015, he remained close with castmates, especially Alda, who remembered him as a man of integrity and quiet strength. Then there was Radar. Played by Gary Berghoff, Radar O'Reilly wasn't just a fan favorite, he was the show's heartbeat. With his teddy bear, boyish face, and uncanny intuition, Radar symbolized innocence trying to survive in chaos. Unlike the others, Gary had started with a MASH film and carried that soul into the series. But the toll of fame weighed heavily on him. By season 7, Gary was struggling with anxiety, burnout, and the guilt of missing precious years with his daughter. Even though he negotiated for a lighter workload and better pay, the emotional strain couldn't be ignored. So, when the time came, MASH gave him a send-off that felt like a soft goodbye from a friend. In a two-part episode titled Goodbye, Radar, his character left the war behind to care for his family, leaving his teddy bear behind like a relic of youth. The moment was quiet, emotional, and deeply human. After that, Gary retreated from the spotlight. He focused on art, wildlife, and inventions, things that brought peace. And although he left acting behind, audiences never forgot the gentle soul who taught them how to hold on and when to let go. But not all exits were so poetic. Larry Linville's portrayal of Major Frank Burns brought slapstick cruelty and rigid absurdity to the screen. He was the perfect villain, uptight, petty, and completely blind to his own incompetence. And that was the problem. After 5 seasons, Larry felt trapped. Frank Burns wasn't changing. He wasn't growing. He was a joke that had stopped being funny. So Larry walked away, giving the show space to evolve. In Frank's place came something unexpected: David Ogden Stiers as Major Charles Winchester. Sophisticated, snobbish, and surprisingly deep, Winchester wasn't just a new foil. He was a new kind of character entirely. Over time, his walls broke down, revealing someone capable of great kindness and quiet sorrow. David's performance was thoughtful and restrained, a subtle dance of pride and pain. And in the show's final moments, Winchester's story ended not with a bang but with the soft strains of Mozart played for prisoners of war, music in a world that had seen too little of it. David chose not to join the spin-off after MASH, saying Winchester's tale was complete. Later in life, he came out as gay, a bold step in an industry still filled with stigma. But he did it with grace, continuing to lend his voice to animation and film until his death in 2018, leaving behind a legacy of compassion and talent. One of the show's greatest evolutions came not from a departure, but a transformation. Major Margaret Hot Lips Houlihan, played by Loretta Swit, began as a caricature, strict, often mocked, and easily dismissed. But Loretta wasn't interested in playing someone one-dimensional. She fought for Margaret to be seen, to be taken seriously. Slowly, the character changed. She became strong, intelligent, and vulnerable woman, a real person navigating a man's world during wartime. Margaret's growth mirrored the show's own journey from humor to heartache, and Loretta stood firm through all of it, one of only 4 actors to appear from the pilot to the finale. She was the steady thread that tied the ensemble together, offering not just comic relief or romantic tension, but dignity, resolve, and humanity. She proved that in a show full of wisecracks and war, women could lead too, and they could do it with strength and soul. Through 11 seasons, MAS*H never stopped evolving. Cast members came and went, sometimes amid tension, other times with grace. And yet, each departure shaped the show's emotional weight. Whether it was the shocking silence after Henry Blake's death or the heartbreak of Radar's farewell, these moments weren't just good television. They were powerful, living proof that comedy could carry grief and laughter could sit beside loss. Even the backstage struggles, the regrets, the unmet dreams, the quiet goodbyes, only deepened the emotional resonance of the stories told on screen. These were real people facing real crossroads, and that authenticity shined through every frame. The brilliance of MAS*H wasn't just in the lines or the laughs, it was in the way it made us feel. It showed the absurdity of war without losing sight of the individuals caught in it. It dared to show vulnerability, to let characters cry, to end episodes in silence, to remind us that healing takes more than medicine. And it never stopped believing that humor and heart could coexist. In every actor's exit, in every script rewrite, and in every change, the show held on to its purpose, to reflect the complexity of being human in a broken world. MAS*H remains one of the most groundbreaking series in television history, not because it was perfect, but because it was honest. It honored the pain and beauty of life, even in the most absurd and tragic of circumstances. It let its characters grow, fall apart, and walk away when they needed to. And in doing so, it gave us something unforgettable. So if this story moved you, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. We'll keep sharing the human side of the spotlight, one story at a time.